Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to all Akim preaching His word in truth and sincerity and in faith. It's the brother Yeshaya from the GMS Plain Tables Camp here in Philadelphia. And I just want to do a quick lesson, after, a lot of brothers, seeing what happened in Capitol Hill, in Washington, D.C., where a lot of the Trump supporters, they stormed the building. They're causing chaos, causing all out chaos, breaking windows. I believe they was, going up in there, stealing things. The one woman got shot and died. And I believe they said the other people ended up dying, which, it was all out chaos. And I was listening on the radio, and they was talking about this is basically an attack on democracy. Them doing what they did, fighting against the election, which a lot of them believe that the election was rigged and that Donald Trump was the true winner. Whether it is rigged or not, which we believe all elections are rigged, which the elites of this world, of this society, they pick and choose who the president is. Yeah, but they're of the belief that the election was rigged, and they're upset, and they're basically saying this is an attack on democracy, and democracy is the greatest form of government that was ever created. Just showing the pride of Esau. And brothers are seeing we're seeing the fall of our enemy before our very eyes, and brothers are in a joyful spirit. And, these are great times that we're living in, exciting times that we're living in. We see the end, getting closer and closer. All these different prophecies are coming to pass. You got the coronavirus, taking away these people's rights and their privileges. You got this presidential election, that happened, and the people are upset about it. The people are rioting. Brothers for years have been speaking on different things such as martial law and race wars. If things keep going the way they're going, people being upset about their businesses being closed, people being upset about their president, being, cheated out of his election, for the Trump supporters. If things keep going, they're gonna have to, eventually declare martial law. Have these people under strict orders on what they can and can't do. I believe out there in Washington D.C. they said they have a 15-day emergency. I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but I'm sure there's gonna be curfews involved. People movements are going to be restricted. There's going to be a large police and National Guard presence. Yeah, so we're in a very joyful spirit. Why? Because we're seeing the downfall of our enemy, and it's beautiful. And I was reading this article, basically, RT from RT Russia Today, and they're throwing shade at the United States for what they call democracy. For basically their hypocrisy. For the hypocrisy that they call democracy. So the title of the article says, "Do you realize now what you have done?" Question mark. It says U.S. gets the kind of democracy it championed overseas. It says a crowd of protesters stormed Congress protesting a presidential election they claimed had been fraudulent. Yeah, so these people believe that the election was rigged. It says when this happened in Serbia in 2000, the U.S. called it democracy. Yeah, so every time a people fight against their government, the United States of America says these people are fighting for their freedom, they're fighting for their rights, and now that these people are doing it, they're calling it terrorism. They're calling them terrorists, they're calling them extremists. But when it happens in other countries, they're not extremists, they're not terrorists, they're called freedom fighters. They're people that's fighting for their rights, their God-given rights, as as the U.S. will put it. Just so it says the U.S. called it democracy. It says when it happened in Washington D.C., not so much. Yeah, so on their hypocrisy. It says scenes from the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday, as protesters backing President Donald Trump disrupted the joint session of Congress meeting to certify the election of Democrat Joe Biden, looked very much like Belgrade in October 2000. It says the site was later repeated in Ukraine twice in 2004 and 2014, Georgia, Moldova, Belarus, and several Central Asian former Soviet republics. Like it says, on every occasion, the U.S. backed the people power, because American NGOs and embassies were supporting what became known as color revolutions. Yeah, so every time these different these people, the U.S. would start these different coups, which a coup is when you try to overthrow your government. Yeah, they would start these different coups. They would back them up. They're saying, they would say these people are doing the right thing. Just fairly recently over there in Venezuela, the president, won the election, and they saying, he wasn't. They're basically saying the election wasn't fair, that he rigged the election, and that the people had the right to overthrow him, telling the Venezuelan president that he should step down, because he didn't win it fair, and that what's the dude, Guaido, I believe, that he's the president. The dude wasn't even elected, but they want him to put him as president. Just showing their hypocrisy. It says same thing happened in 2011 with the Arab Spring that started in Tunisia and then burned its way across North Africa to the Persian Gulf. In some places, it succeeded, overthrowing decades-old governments. Yeah, so the U.S. has been doing this for years, overthrowing these different countries' leaders and governments, and then putting in their own puppet leaders and puppet presidents, who they want, because that specific person is going to do, the U.S.'s bidding, basically. Yeah, basically the U.S. is a puppet, doing the will of the elites. It says in others it failed, setting off wars in Libya and Syria and blood on the streets of Bahrain. Yeah, so if the people try to overthrow the government, of course the government is gonna do what it can, to maintain order. You can't just the people can't just up and rise and overthrow the government whenever they feel like, because the U.S. the United States of America tells them to. The government has to try to keep order, and a lot of people, there's a lot of bloodshed from that. And the U.S. don't bat an eye. They start these different civil wars in these people's countries, and a lot of people end up dying from it, and they don't bat an eye. They say, these people are fighting for their rights, and they're fighting for their freedom. They back them up. They empower them. They empower the chaos that goes on out there. It says again, the U.S. cheered this on as democracy, except for Bahrain, who hosts a major naval base. It says more recently, the U.S. denounced as illegitimate the presidential elections Belarus, Bolivia, and Venezuela. Yeah, like I just mentioned, Venezuela. What right does the United States of America have to tell, another country, oh, your election was it was illegitimate. Your election was rigged. What right do you have? How do you know what's going on in another's country's election? What if Russia said that, okay, this election was illegitimate, that Donald Trump really won, and that Joe Biden should step down? And these people would be in an uproar. It says while Minsk and Caracas, so like it, managed to resist and got sanctioned for it, the Democrats in La Paz were successful for a while, but ended up losing the vote last year. And that's exactly what happens when a president doesn't step down because the U.S. told them to. They get sanctioned. They get called dictators. They get accused of all types of crimes. It says way back in 2004, the Guardian wrote approvingly about how the U.S. has created a slick operation of engineering democracy through the ballot box and civil disobedience, developing since Belgrade a template for winning other people's elections. It says now the same mainstream media that slavishly followed the State Department line in denouncing elections elsewhere as rigged and color revolutions as spontaneous democracy are clutching their pearls when Americans who believe their election was stolen take to the streets and storm their capital. Yeah, so the main point of this article, and I'm going to put it in the description box, is that, the U.S. the U.S. are nothing but hypocrites. When people fight against their governments, in these other countries, they call it freedom fighting. They call it democracy. They oftentimes say that these other countries' elections are rigged. Now that the people, a large group, of the United States citizens are saying that they believe that this election was rigged. They're calling them extremists. They're calling them terrorists. Why aren't they calling them freedom fighters. Why aren't they saying that they're fighting for their rights? Just showing the hypocrisy of this democracy. So this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse Salakia. I think it's like, give me 1 second, Salakia. It's where it says, yeah, Khan Salakia. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 16. It says, Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. Yeah, so the U.S. is being exposed. I believe a lot of the leaders of these other countries, they said what's happening in America is shameful. Basically, basically looking down on America. Really, they're happy, because they really hate America. But a lot of times they can't speak out against them, because they don't feel, they're not empowered enough to go against, America at the current moment. But they're getting that courage as they see the chaos that's going on in America. They're seeing America ain't that big and it ain't that bad. It says, Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Yeah, so shameful spewing is on their glory. The one dude on the radio was saying democracy was the greatest form of government, ever, and now we're seeing that democracy doesn't work. It's failing. If democracy is so great, why is it failing in America? And these other countries are calling out the hypocrisy of what they call democracy. And their shame is being put on what they gloried in. What they gloried in is the democracy, and it's looking pitiful right now. It's looking at like it don't work. The thing that they invested, their whole, they structured their whole society on, the thing that they claim they're willing to die for, which is democracy. It's being proved that it doesn't work. So this is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. It says, And Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Yeah, so America is divided. We see the division. Anyone with with eyes and ears can see the division going on in America. Everyone hates everyone in this country, and these people are at their end. The government is shutting down these people's stores, telling them when they can and can't open their stores, where they can and can't go. You got to wear a mask. You got to do this. You got to do that. The people are fed up, and they're at their breaking point. They're close to the edge. The scripture says that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, and when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So the people are mourning, and that's causing a division. The people are tired of their government basically ruling over them, being unfair to them. They believe that the government, creates unjust laws, which they do. All their laws are unjust, but they feel, in this current moment that the laws are more unjust than before. They believe that they're breaking, that their leaders are breaking their own constitution. So this is what is this? Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 16 says, For there shall be sedition among men. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And that's exactly what Joe Biden called it yesterday when he made his speech. He called it sedition. And I got the definition for sedition. For sedition, it says conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. And that's exactly what Donald Trump was doing. In his speech, he was inciting these people to rebel against the authority of the state. He was inciting these people to go out and to protest, the election. Because I believe yesterday they were finalizing or confirming, the Joe Biden, that the fact that Joe Biden won the electoral vote. They were finalizing that, and Trump was inciting them to rebel against their government, and the conduct of the people was that they wanted to basically overthrow the current leadership. They don't want the people that are in power. They don't want the Nancy Pelosi. They don't want Joe Biden. They don't want Kamala Harris. So there's sedition among men. was I at? Slacking. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. Yeah, so that was an invasion on that building. They invaded that building. They just ran up in there and did whatever they wanted. They said, people had guns. They had armed standoff with the police. And imagine if that was some Jakes that did that. They wouldn't have made it out alive. Even though the one lady, she ended up getting shot, and I believe 3 other people died. But I don't think it was necessarily because they had guns or it was gun related. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Yeah, so they're not regarding their rulers. They don't care what Joe Biden has to say. They don't care what Nancy Pelosi has to say. They don't care about what Kamala Harris and all these different leaders, governmental leaders have to say. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, so we're living in these times, where the people are so fed up, that they're ready to fight. They're ready to pick up arms, and that's exactly what they did. Yesterday at that Capitol. These people can't take no more, and this country can't take no more. And Joe Biden, his originally Donald Trump, his motive was to heal Babylon, make America great again. And now Joe Biden, he wants to unite Americans, but it's not, which is basically the same thing, them trying to make America great, make America flourish again. But it says we would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. It says take balm for her. It says take balm for her. So everything they doing, it ain't working. All right, the people are fed up, and the people, they ready to start a revolution. That's what I believe I seen the one video. That's what the one lady said. This is a revolution, and it's funny because the brother, pointed out that it looked staged. Just the way she said it, it looked kind of staged or whatever. But that's besides the point. The people are fed up. That's the point. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 9. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yeah, so as Esau's world ends, his rulership ends, our rulership is right there on the horizon. That's why brothers are, brothers are in that, joyful spirit, saying Barakatah Yahabashim Al Shai. We're giving praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His Son, because we see the end. In which the end, as soon as the end comes, is the beginning, and the beginning is going to be beautiful. It is, the kingdom of heaven, the rulership of our Lord Yahweh Shai and of His men. A kingdom that is everlasting. So this is these are beautiful times that that we're living in, and brothers should be, in a joyful spirit, seeing these different things that are unfolding before our eyes. The scripture, I believe Yahweh Shai told His disciples, that some men desired, there's many prophets that desired to see what they saw, and that's the same with us. It's a beautiful thing that we're seeing, and we should be cognizant, we should be aware of the beautiful times that we're living in. So this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 verse 7. It says, there be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Ain't nothing, ain't nothing greater, better than that, than seeing that vengeance, man. Somebody done did you wrong for so many years and continue to do wrong and pled ignorance. They plead ignorance. They don't know what they did. They say them enslaving our people, they did us a favor. If it wasn't for them, we'd be living in mud huts, degrading our people for centuries, treating us like we ain't nothing, killing our people in the streets, keeping us on the low end of society, giving us these terrible, jobs that don't pay you nothing, that break down your body, just being mistreated for years. And we seen his downfall, man. It's a beautiful thing, Barakatah Yahbashim Al Shai. It's beautiful. It says, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy, and we're seeing the fall of our enemy, man, right before our very eyes, right? And it's the will of Yahweh Shim Al Shai, that all of this is happening. So Tawada Yahweh Shim Al Shai. So this is Psalm chapter 58, verse 10. It says, the righteous shall rejoice. This is the righteous shall rejoice. The wicked ain't going to rejoice. The wicked of our people ain't rejoicing at this, you know. They might even be upset, like, oh, them people had no right to fight against Joe Biden's election. They need to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want to see this place go down, man. They want to keep flourishing. And not so like you're not flourishing because Jake ain't flourishing. They think they flourishing in a society. They want to flourish in their wickedness. They want to continue in their wickedness. They don't want to see the fall of their enemy. They wanna hug their enemy. They wanna be on equal footing with their enemy, you know? They want to forgive their enemy. They won't forgive their brother. You know, they won't forgive another Israelite, but they forgive this Edomite. You know, they want to forgive and forget. You know, so the wicked don't want to see the downfall of their enemy. It says the righteous shall rejoice, and that's exactly what the righteous are doing. The men of Yahweh Shemel Shai, we're rejoicing because we're seeing the downfall of our enemy. It says the righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance, and we're seeing that vengeance. It says he shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Yeah, man. So we're laughing at your downfall. We're rejoicing at your downfall. We're thanking our power for finally bringing this man down, because he deserves it. It's what he deserves for all the different atrocities that he's committed against our people and that he continues to commit till this day. Like Deontay Wilder said, till this day. So Tawada y'all Bashim Yashad, man. These are beautiful times that we're living, and Lord willing, this video is edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to all Akim preaching his word in truth and sincerity and in faith. Shalom.